At one point, it looked like the 2021 free agency class was going to be one of the craziest we've ever seen, with the likes of Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. And while that isn't necessarily the case right now, with a lot of those players signing extensions, it's still going to have a huge impact on the league going forward. So I want to talk about it in today's video. If you like the content, hit that like button. My stats are telling me that over 50% of y'all that have been watching the videos lately still aren't subscribed. I don't know what you're doing. Hit that sub button. We have a ton of content coming out, and let's get into it. So we've got three main categories of free agents. You've got unrestricted, player options, and restricted free agents. Kicking it off with some players that are going to be unrestricted, free to sign wherever they want. I think you've got 5 really notable names. Victor Oladipo has been talked about quite a bit this season, as he's been moved quite a bit this season. He started the year on the Pacers, then went to the Rockets in the James Harden deal, and recently at the deadline was moved again to the Heat. Oladipo's been dealing with a knee injury, causing him only to play 4 games so far in Miami, where he's averaged 12 points, shooting 37% from the field and 24% from 3. Obviously not great, but based on the player we know he can be, and the fact that he'll be another year removed from injury, there's no doubt he's going to be a top free agent target, and we should expect teams like the Knicks to possibly be offering him some pretty good sized money. Kyle Lowry is someone I was shocked to not see moved at the deadline, and he's really interesting when it comes to free agency, as I don't think he's going to remain a Raptor past this season. Yes, he's 35 years old, but he's still highly productive. This season, he's averaging 17 points and 7 assists as a 38% three-point shooter. Now, the thing with Lowry to pay attention to is what he goes for. I think we could see a team throw him a big 3-year deal, something I think would be a huge mistake. But I also think there's a scenario where the money isn't what he's expecting, and we really get to expand the potential team pool to some of the better teams in the league, which is where things really start to get interesting. Mike Conley's improvement from last season has been a huge reason the Jazz have been able to have such a great year. He's averaging 16 points and 6 assists, shooting 41% from 3. He's similar to Kyle Lowry, as he's 33 years old. I have the same opinion on him. A big 3-year deal, I've got a lot of concerns for any team on the other end of that. But on a short-term deal, I think he could be a game changer for a lot of rosters. Demar Derozan is another guy I was pretty confident would get traded at the deadline, but that clearly didn't happen. I think I'm probably the most excited for him to be moved out of all the players mentioned so far, just because I really can't remember the last time I went out of my way to watch a Spurs game, but I do enjoy watching Demar Derozan. This season, he's been putting up the numbers we've seen for the past few seasons, 21 points, 7 assists, and around 4 rebounds a game. Now, I think he's probably going to have a pretty big deal headed his way, with him being 31 years old. The Spurs could offer him a massive contract, but I really don't think that's in their best interest. I think the teams to watch are probably the Knicks and Mavericks. Dennis Schroeder is the last of the bigger names in unrestricted free agency. Reportedly, he turned down a 4-year, $84 million extension with the Lakers. This season, he's been averaging 16 points and 6 assists, shooting 44% from the field and 34% from 3. I really thought that offer was right around market and was shocked to see him decline it. I really don't see him getting much more than that. I really think he's going to remain a Laker, but this one's going to come down to money, and Schroeder clearly wants to test the waters of free agency. Now we have the guys on player options, and this is where we could see some big names. The biggest by far of this whole free agency class is going to be none other than Kawhi Leonard. Sometimes it feels we forget just how good he is. This season, he's averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 52% from the field and 39% from 3. The Clippers are the 3rd seed in the West, 1 game back of the top seed. They could very well win the title this season. I expect Kawhi Leonard to decline his player option for obvious reasons, but I do really think he's going to end up staying. Reports have come out that the league-wide consensus as of right now is that he's not going anywhere. We've heard some rumblings that he might be interested in Miami, but really the only way I see that happening would be another breakdown where they fall short at the conference finals. Man, would I feel for Clippers fans if this is their last season with Kawhi. Then you've got Chris Paul. Now there's a very solid chance that Paul just accepts his player option as well. It's for $44 million. Despite being 35 years old, Paul is still playing great. He's averaging 16 points and 9 assists on great efficiency. Things are going great in Phoenix. I don't see why he would want to go anywhere. I think this one's just really going to come down to the math. Let's say Phoenix is willing to give him a 3-year, $90 million deal. Yeah, he would take a $14 million pay cut for next season, but considering his age, it would probably be beneficial to secure an additional $50 million. Norman Powell was just recently traded to the Portland Trail Blazers, and with the season he is having, averaging 19 points as a 41% three-point shooter, it's a foregone conclusion he's declining his player option. When Powell is playing with both Lillard and McCollum, they look amazing, and I really think they can do something with this core, but with teams like the Mavericks, Knicks, and Hornets projected to have money to spend, it's going to be hard to keep him around with him projected to get close to max money. I really think Dallas would be an awesome landing spot. Spencer Dinwiddie is another guy that 100% is going to decline the player option, but considering his injury, it's really hard to say what he will go for. I don't think he's going to remain a Ned, but I think there's an interesting sweet spot where a contender could land him on a pretty nice deal. Then you've got Serge Ibaka. He's been having a great season for LA, averaging 11 points and 7 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field and 35% from 3. He could end up accepting the $10 million player option, but we could also see him decide to go try out another contender. The last category is going to be restricted free agents, and this is where it gets kind of fun. One of the most talked about players going into free agency is undoubtedly going to be Lonzo Ball. With him shooting 38% from 3 on 8 attempts this season, he might be in for a pretty hefty payday, a payday that the Pelicans might not be willing to match. We saw at the deadline all the buzz surrounding a Lonzo Ball trade with his projected market value after this season. We've heard reports that the Knicks might be willing to pay upwards of $20 million a season for Lonzo. If that's the case, there's a very real chance he's on his way to New York. There's a couple other teams that could potentially be offering similar numbers. If it's around that 20 mark, I really don't know if the Pelicans are going to match that, which sucks because I really like what they have going on over there. Then you've got John Collins, who statistically has been great. He's averaging 18 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field and 38% from 3. But he's another guy we've heard some trade talk about at the deadline. We've also heard some rumors of a rift in the relationship with him and Trae Young. I still think the Hawks are going to match most any deal, as they're not much of a free agency destination, but I think you're going to see a lot of offers come his way. Gary Trent Jr. all of a sudden has become a really interesting piece for this Raptors team going forward. They just got him at the deadline, and since getting there, he's averaged 16 points as a 36% three-point shooter. They're probably going to match most deals I would expect. They hold a top pick in the upcoming draft, and we talked about Kyle Lowry is probably on his way out. So they should be going forward with a young core of Anunoby, Trent Jr., and Siakam, which is pretty exciting. You've got Lauri Markkanen, who at one point looked like a future star when he was averaging 19 points in his second season. But while he really regressed in his third year, he's turned it around and has averaged 14 points, shooting 48% from the field and 40% from 3 this season. Now he's in an interesting spot, as if the Bulls end up matching him, they're pretty locked into this core. Not quite the position you want to be in as a Bulls fan, but right now they just can't afford to let go of the value he holds. Then you've got Jared Allen, who since coming to Cleveland has been averaging 14 points and 10 rebounds a game. Reports are coming out that they're willing to give him the bag, so I don't think he is going anywhere anytime soon. Lastly, we've got some honorable mentions. You've got Kelly Oubre Jr. on the Warriors, who's going to be unrestricted, which is interesting after struggling quite a bit this year. Then you've got the Hornets, who've got 2 restricted free agents in Devontae Graham and Malik Monk, who need new deals. Then you've got the Miami Heat in a pretty similar situation, with both Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson being unrestricted free agents. For this video, I mainly wanted to just do a main overview of the situation you've got going into free agency. There's a lot of guys that it looks like are going to stay with their teams. There's not a lot of teams that have money to spend, but these are things that could change as we get closer to free agency. If you guys want to see me do a predictions video later this week, tell me in the comments below and smash the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.